In today's video, we are going to finish up the Design Your Own Applique project that I started a few weeks ago. So this is part 3. If you're wondering about the other 2 parts, check up above in the description below because I'll put links to those videos there for you. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst at Chatterbox Quilts. And what we did previously on this project is what you can see here, although I've done a little bit more, and I'm going to talk about that in today's video. So what we had done is we had created our applique design, which you see here. We had put it down onto a quilt sandwich. We had stitched around it 3 times with black thread, or you could use whatever color thread you wanted to, of course. And the thing I had done before I started all that was I'd actually stitched in the ditch between the background and the border, just to keep everything in place. So the next step, of course, is to do some quilting. So I want to talk about the quilting I've already done on this project. So in the background here, I've used a thread that's fairly close to the background. You can see it a little bit more, but I didn't want it to, jump out at me because the applique is the main area here. So what kind of quilting did I do here? Well, I just did some simple swirls. So in and out, roundabout sort of thing, but I also added a few other little decorative features in here in the form of these spiral flowers. So these are easy to do. They start with a spiral and then you bump around them as many times as you want. So they're a good design to fill in areas. You can make them as big as you want, right? So I've got one here, I think there's another one down here. Not sure if there's another one hiding or not. Here it is, it's over here. So it just gives a little more interest when people come in closer to look at your quilt. You can throw in some additional little designs like that. Just makes it a little more interesting in the background. Now, if you're wondering how to do those flower swirls, I have a video that shows you exactly how to do that. Check up above or in the description below for a link to that video. Now, I also had to do some quilting in the border. Well, I didn't have to. I chose to do some quilting in the border, and I wanted to keep it quite simple. It's not very wide. It's about 1 inch wide, so I didn't want to do anything really elaborate in there. I've got more interest in the center here. I just wanted some quilting in there, and what I did was just a really big, wide, easy, wavy line all the way around in a kind of matching thread to the green, so similar to what I did in the background. So now the project is quilted. The project is done, but is it really done? Well, there's more things I could do to this, and that involves decorative stitches on my sewing machine. So when I look at the teacups here, I have used pattern fabric in here, obviously. So I don't really think I need to add anything to the teacups because there's enough going on there already. However, if you had used solid or solidish fabric like I've done in the saucer here, you might want to add some more interest to the teacups, and you could do that with decorative stitches. And that's what I want to do here in the saucer. You can see I've got a few marks here already, and I'll explain that in a moment as to why that is there. But what I wanted to do, and what takes the most time, of course, is picking out a decorative stitch. So on the machine I'm using today, which is a Janome M7, I found a really cute little stitch that has a heart in the center and kind of like little boughs with leaves going on either side, and I thought that would look really cute in here. Now, one of the first things I wanted to do with that is to see how long is that stitch, all right? Because I want to fit it in here, and I'd like to have the whole stitch in here. I don't want to have to stop it partway through if I can avoid that, okay? So what I did was I actually moved my cat out of the way and I stitched this out, okay? So on this particular machine, I'll just show you this. I wrangle this around here for you to see. So here's where I stitched it out. And on this machine, it's under the pictograph, under the P1, P1 and 2 are similar except that on P2 the heart is filled in. So this is P1 on the Janome M7. You may have something similar on your machine if you have decorative stitches. You can use whatever you like, of course. But what I did is I stitched it out first, and then I wanted to measure it and see how long is it. So I took my ruler and I measured it here. So from one end to the next, it's about 1 inch. We're going to say 1 inch, okay? And it's also about, I think it's about 3/8 of an inch. It's coming out about there. Yeah, 3/8 of an inch in width this way and 1 inch in length. Okay, so I knew that. I decided to use a navy thread, so kind of matching this color, to put it on here. I want to be able to see this on the blue. So, I could have used green to pick up the green here, maybe red. I thought I'd go with the navy just to match the other fabric used in the saucer. And so then what I wanted to do is center this decorative stitch on the saucer, center-ish, okay? Not going to get overly fussed, but I do kind of want it to be kind of in the center here, okay? I don't want it to start here and, end there kind of thing. So what I did is I just measured 3 inches, okay, in here. I'm not sure if I even like this or if I want it over a little bit. Not to worry, I've used a friction pen, so I can just make another line if I want to move it over just a wee bit. Okay, this is some of the fun of designing, right? Let's say we move it over just a wee bit over, just a little bit. Okay, that one's staying about the same. So, okay, we can kind of fill it in this area here, and I kind of want it centered this way too. So I'll be able to do that on the machine when I start stitching. So what I did is I changed out my thread, of course, in the top and the bobbin to be the same, this navy. And then I wanted to start doing some stitching on it. I want to stitch that decorative stitch, right? So the first thing, of course, I do is make sure that I've got my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And I also want to make sure that I've still got that stitch selected because, you know, you never know. I was playing around with different stitches. Maybe I stopped on the one I don't want to use. That's always possible. And I'm just using the default settings on this. So it's 9 millimeters wide. No, 9 millimeters long, I should say, and 2.5 wide, I guess. Okay, so we're going to go and we're going to start. I'm using what you call a walking foot. This is the AD foot on this machine. It uses the Appliqué Flex system. And I just need to find my little mark. There's my mark there. Okay, and roughly here. So the other thing when I'm working with decorative stitches, and you can see this here, is where is this going to start? So it's starting on the right-hand side. Okay, it's going to come down and form. So it's going to go from this side of the foot, the right side of the foot, to the left. That helps with my positioning, all right? So knowing it's going to start there and move to the left, I'm not going to start it, you know, over here. That's an exaggeration, obviously, but I want to make sure I start it up higher because it is going to go lower. All right, thereabouts. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. So let's start off, and we're just going to stitch a few of these. I want to fit in 3 of them, okay? So let's get going. All right, so it's completed 1, and we're continuing on. Now, I did not mark a reference line on here. You could, if you wanted to. You could have marked a line along there where you want it to, you know, sit above, sort of thing, or you might want to center it around the line. It depends on how the stitch is formed. But I didn't do that. I'm just eyeballing it, so keep your fingers crossed. Okay, as it starts to go into the 3rd iteration, I'm going to press, I have a lock stitch button here, that when I press that, it's going to stop at the end once it's completed that iteration of the stitch. So I'm going to press that now so it doesn't just keep going on me and I get half a design like I don't want. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up my bobbin thread here. There we go. And we'll clip that off. So pretty close to where I'd marked the edge, the end, I should say, of that stitch there. So let's pull it out here. Let's see what it looks like. Let's cut off some of the little threads here. Shouldn't make that much of a difference, but it always seems to me when I'm looking at it. Oh, look at that. So of course I'm going to remove these. So it's pretty darn close as to where I want it, right? And it looks pretty straight. I mean, it could have been over, maybe a tad over, but I'm not going to worry about it. I think it looks really cute. So think about using your decorative stitches on your appliques because that can add some extra interest to them too. And here I think it really finishes this off nicely because really these 2 parts here, I mean, you don't notice the dark blue behind there because it's dark, but this you kind of notice and it doesn't have any pattern on it. So I think by adding that little decorative stitch in there, that it kind of ties it in with the rest of the fabrics in the teacups and gives it kind of a nice elegant look. So that is now finished. Okay, it's ready to go up on the wall. I think it looks really nice. I really enjoyed making this and I hope you did too. And I wanted to mention that if you haven't worked with decorative stitches before, don't worry, I've got a video that shows you how to work with decorative stitches and some of the things you need to be aware of. So check out that video here. It'll have all the helpful information that you need. And for more helpful quilting information, be sure to go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.